Hello, my friends. Welcome to the English Talk community. I'm Ben, and I'm really happy you are here with me today. Let me say this to you right now. I know learning English sometimes feels like climbing a big mountain. Sometimes you feel excited at the bottom, looking up to the top, and other times you feel tired on the way, wondering if you can get there. I understand. I've been with many people climbing this mountain, step by step. And I know that every single step you take makes a difference. The fact that you are listening right now means you're taking another step today. Before we start, I want to make this space feel like your space. This is not a classroom with someone telling you what to do. This is our small place in the world where we talk, we share stories, and we grow together. I want you to listen without pressure. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to remember every single word I say. You just need to let the sounds and the rhythm of English come to you. If you can understand some parts, great. If you understand almost everything, wonderful. And if some parts feel difficult, do not worry. That is part of the process. Your ear is learning even when you don't notice it. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where someone asks you, "How are you?" and your brain runs quickly to one safe and familiar answer? "I'm fine." Maybe you have said it 100 times, maybe 1,000 times. And that's okay. It's safe, it's short, it's clear. But here's the thing. Sometimes saying the same thing every time can make conversations feel flat, like a song with only one note. Today, I'm here to tell you that there is a colorful song inside you, and we just need to bring more notes out. I promise you, this is not going to be about long, complicated sentences. This is going to be about small changes, easy changes, that make you sound more natural in real conversations. Think about it. When you meet someone from another city or another country, and they answer with a little bit of personality, the conversation feels alive, right? You feel more connected to them. That's what I want for you in English. Not just to communicate, but to connect. I remember many years ago I was helping a group of students from all over Europe. We had people from Spain, France, Germany, Portugal, and Italy. They were all beginners, just like you. And I noticed one little thing. Every time I asked, "How are you?" I heard, "I'm fine," again and again. It wasn't wrong, but it felt like a robot's reply. Then, one day, one of them, a woman named Clara from Madrid, answered, "Pretty good," instead. Her voice had a little smile in it, and suddenly everyone looked at her differently. People started asking, "Oh, why pretty good? What happened?" Her answer opened the door to more conversation. That's the magic I want to put into your English, too. Before we get deep into that, I also want to remind you why listening to this podcast matters. The more English you hear, the more your ear learns. Your brain starts to notice patterns, and your confidence grows without you forcing it. If you keep listening, little by little, you will be ready to speak more naturally. And if you're enjoying this episode already, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the like button and subscribe. Not because it's just a thing to do, but because it helps our community stay alive. It's your way of saying, "Yes, Ben, I'm in this journey, and I want more." It also tells me to keep creating these tips and stories for you. So here's what we are going to do today. I'm going to walk with you through one simple idea. You don't need to keep saying "I'm fine" every single time. This is important because in real life, English speakers don't actually use "I'm fine" very often when they talk with friends. They use other short and easy phrases. And using those will make you sound a little bit more like them, and a little less like someone stuck in a school book from years ago. Now, let's make this personal. Think about your own life. Imagine you are walking in your city. You meet someone you haven't seen in a while. Maybe they are from your neighborhood, or maybe they are a tourist visiting. They smile and say, "Hey, how are you?" What do you say back? If you always say, "I'm fine," maybe they smile politely and then go on with their day. But if you say something different, something with a little flavor, maybe they stop and ask you something else. You start talking. Now, it's not just a greeting, It's a conversation. And the more you do this, the more confident you become. Another thing I want to tell you is that you don't have to change everything at once. You don't have to stop saying "I'm fine" forever. This is not about rules or pressure. This is about having more options. More choices give you more freedom. And freedom, in language, feels amazing. It's like being able to choose different clothes for different occasions. You don't need to wear the same shirt every day, even if it's comfortable. You can mix it up, look different, and feel different. The same is true for your answers in English. Let me share something personal. When I first moved to a new country myself, I learned the local language slowly. I remember in the beginning, every time someone greeted me, I was so nervous. I had one answer ready, and I held it like a little safety rope. I never let go of it. But one day, I decided to try something new. The moment I changed my answer, people reacted differently. They laughed with me, they told me stories, and I felt included. That moment showed me that sometimes one small word can open a big door. So today, I want you to imagine that this episode is a friendly coffee break. You and I are sitting down, maybe in a cafe in Lisbon, maybe in a park in Paris. You have your drink, I have mine, and we talk about how to make your English sound more alive. You don't have to study, you don't have to take notes, you just have to listen. Let the ideas pass through your ears and into your mind. You'll see how they come back to you when you need them. And here's something important. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. When you try something new, sometimes it will not come out exactly the way you want. That's fine. In fact, that's perfect. Mistakes are just signs that you are trying, that you are moving forward. Everyone who speaks English fluently has made hundreds, thousands of mistakes along the way. It's part of the story, and it can even make it more fun. As we move into this topic, I want you to keep this feeling in your mind. You're learning, but you're also living. English is not just something you practice in a book. It is something you bring into your real moments. At the train station in Berlin, at the bakery in Rome, at the museum in Amsterdam. Every time someone asks you a question and you respond in a way that feels new, that moment is your small victory. We collect those moments, and they build your confidence. This is why I am glad you pressed play today. You didn't just start a podcast, you started a conversation with me. And together, we are going to make this topic come to life in a way that helps you tomorrow, next week, and every time someone says, "How are you?" You know, I think the first thing we need to do here is take a deep breath and relax. Because today, we are going to be very honest with each other. "I'm fine" has been comfortable for you. It's safe, it's clear, and it works everywhere. But I want to let you in on a little secret. In real, everyday English conversations, people rarely say "I'm fine" unless they are at a hospital and the doctor is checking if they're okay after almost falling off a bicycle. In most natural conversations, "I'm fine" is not the first choice. It's not that it's wrong, it's just that it can sometimes make you sound like you're reading from a script instead of actually talking. Think about how you feel in your own language when someone gives an answer that feels automatic. You ask them how they're doing, and they say something short, flat, and safe. Maybe it passes the moment quickly, but it doesn't invite more connection. In English, "I'm fine" is that kind of answer. It's polite, but it's closed. It's a full stop, like shutting a door gently right after you've opened it. I understand why it's so common for learners to use it. It's one of the first things taught in schools, and when you're learning, you grab the safe words and hold on to them because they make you feel secure. I see it as your security blanket. But just like a child eventually lets go of their blanket and starts walking around freely, you can do the same with your English. It doesn't mean you throw away what you know. It means you start exploring new ground. When I talk to people from different countries, I hear a range of answers to "How are you?" Friends in New York might say, "Doing good," or "Pretty great today." In London, you could hear "Not bad," or "All good, thanks." In Dublin, someone might say "Grand," with a smile. The point is, Native speakers have variety. These are not advanced expressions. They are easy, short, and friendly. The beauty of them is not in big words. It's the natural rhythm they bring to a conversation. Now, let me share a small story to make this real. A few years ago, I met a man named Martin from Lisbon. Martin was studying English and had been using "I'm fine" for years. It was his safe line, his comfort zone. One afternoon, he told me about a conversation he had in London. Someone said, "Hey, how's it going?" And Martin replied with, "I'm fine." He said that the person just smiled politely and moved on. Later that day, Martin heard another tourist say, "Great, thanks. I just came from the park. It's beautiful today." That person got a longer response from the local. They started chatting about the weather, the park, and even places to visit in the city. Martin realized in that moment that his "I'm fine" had closed a door, while a different answer opened one. That simple change made the difference between a fast goodbye and a friendly exchange. The truth is, "I'm fine" is a phrase that often stops conversation instead of building it. People hear it and think, "Okay, there's nothing more to say here." On the other hand, if you answer in a way that sounds personal, like "pretty good" or "not bad, thanks," you invite the other person to connect. They might ask you why you're feeling pretty good, or they might share how their day is going. This turns a small greeting into real interaction. And that's what most people want, a human moment, even if it's short. I also want to talk about how language can carry energy. Some phrases are like a cup of fresh coffee. They wake up the conversation. Others are like warm water. They're fine, but they don't give it much life. "I'm fine" is often warm water. It works in formal situations, but if you want to sound friendly, open, and approachable, you can choose expressions with a bit more spark. And the best part is, you don't need to learn complicated English to do this. You only need 2 or 3 alternatives you feel comfortable with. I know you might be thinking, "But Ben, I don't have many words in English yet. I can't make big, interesting sentences." My answer to that is, you don't need big sentences. You only need short, clear, and natural responses. Something like, "I'm good, thanks," or "doing well today" is enough. You already have the ability to say this. It's not a question of knowledge, it's a question of habit. And habits change when we start to notice them. The reason I'm telling you all this is because I want you to see English not as a list of rules to remember, but as a set of tools you can use to connect with real people. If you only keep the safest, oldest tool, you'll always get the same result. But when you try a new one, you can discover a new way to build a conversation. This is not about forcing yourself to be someone you're not. If you're shy, you can still use more natural answers without becoming loud or dramatic. You can answer softly, but with variety. Even a simple "pretty good today" in a calm voice can feel warmer than "I'm fine" in the same tone. I want you to feel the difference. Say out loud now, "I'm fine." Listen to it. Now say, "I'm good, thanks." Hear how it feels in your mouth and in your voice. One feels formal and distant. The other feels present and open. By breaking away from default phrases like "I'm fine," you're giving yourself a bigger English personality. You are letting people see more of you through the language, even if you only share a few words at a time. English is a bridge, and if you make it warmer, more people will want to cross it with you. And here's one last thought before we stop for today's part. English is not about sounding perfect. Some days you will feel pretty good. Other days, maybe, not too bad. By learning to say that naturally, you are already doing more than most learners in their early journey. You are telling the world that you are ready for small, real conversations, and that's where true fluency grows. In the small moments, with small sentences, repeated many times until they become part of you. I want to tell you about a woman named Marta. Marta is from Barcelona, one of the most beautiful cities I have ever visited. If you have never been there, imagine streets that shine in the early morning sun, people walking to work or enjoying coffee at small tables, and the sound of voices blending in the air like music. Marta lives right in the heart of that busy life. She works at a small hotel, the kind that attracts people from all over the world. Her job is to greet guests at the front desk, help them with information, and make them feel welcome. Every day, she meets someone new, people from Paris, London, Lisbon, Rome, Berlin, New York, you name it. And because of her job, one question in English comes into her life every single day. How are you? She told me that for many years, she gave the same answer. I'm fine. She learned those words in school, felt safe using them, and never really thought about changing them. As she said it, she could focus on other parts of her job without worrying about making a mistake. But Marta started to notice something interesting. Many of the guests who asked, "How are you?" were native English speakers, and they almost never answered, "I'm fine," when she asked them back. One man from Manchester said, "I'm good, thanks, just enjoying the morning." A woman from Dublin said, "Not bad, thanks. The weather's better than I expected." Someone else said, "Pretty good today," with a big smile. Each answer gave her a small piece of their day, a little color, a little life. The more she heard these answers, the more she began to feel that her own "I'm fine" sounded empty, like a hallway with no furniture. She began to wonder, what would happen if I tried answering the same way they do? One morning, Marta decided to try something different. It was early, and the hotel lobby still smelled like fresh coffee. She was standing at the desk when a couple from Lisbon walked in. The man smiled and said, "Good morning. How are you?" Her usual "I'm fine" was right there in her mind, ready to jump out. But she took a small breath, looked at him, and instead said, "I'm good, thanks. The sun makes it a good day." She told me she felt nervous in that moment, waiting to see how they would react, but their faces lit up. The man smiled wider and said, "Oh yes, we saw the sunrise today. Absolutely beautiful." They started telling her about their walk along the beach, and she told them where they could find a little cafe to enjoy before the city got busy. That simple change, those few new words, opened the door to a friendly moment that never would have happened with "I'm fine." From that day, Marta made an experiment with herself. For one entire week, she would not use "I'm fine" at the hotel. She had a few replacement answers ready. "I'm good, thanks. Pretty good today. Not bad at all." Sometimes she would also add a small detail about the day. "It's such a nice morning," or "I had a good breakfast, so I feel great." And every day, she noticed the same thing. People responded with more energy. They asked her questions back. They smiled. They shared a little more of their own day. By the end of the week, Marta told me she felt like those few words had changed her job. Not because she suddenly had perfect English, but because she was connecting with people on a more human level. She said it was like moving from standing in a dark room to standing near an open window. The light came in, and the air felt different. She didn't feel like just an employee greeting guests. She felt like a person in a conversation, a person they might remember. I share Marta's story because it's so simple and so true for many learners. You don't have to know hundreds of new words to make a change. You can hold on to the words you already know and just choose a different shape for them. You can add a little detail. You can let your answer breathe. This is something possible for everyone, no matter your level. Marta once told me that at first she thought learning English was only about getting the words correct. But now, she thinks it's about making those words part of her, so that they feel natural and can connect her to other people. And I believe she's right. So I want you to imagine that you are Marta for a moment. You are standing at that hotel desk in Barcelona. The sun is coming in through the glass doors. You see two guests walking toward you, smiling. They say, "Hi, how are you? What are you going to say? Will you let 'I'm fine' jump out again? Or will you open the window, like Marta, and let some sunlight into the conversation?" Because here's the thing. No one at that moment cares if your English is perfect. No one is judging you on your vocabulary list. What they remember is how you made them feel, and a natural, friendly answer opens the door to connection before they even realize it. That's the truth Marta learned, and it's the truth you can apply anywhere, whether you are at work, traveling, or speaking with a new friend online. Now let me tell you the story of Luca, a young man living in Rome. If you've been to Rome, you know how alive it feels. The streets breathe history, the air smells of coffee and fresh bread in the morning, and there's this beautiful mix of locals and visitors wandering through the ancient streets. Luca lives just a short walk from the Colosseum, and he studies architecture at a university in the city. Luca started learning English because he wanted to explore opportunities outside Italy. He dreamed about studying for a year in Canada or working in London for a while. Like most beginners, he learned the polite phrases first. How are you? And of course, the good old, I'm fine. That phrase became his safe answer. He told me one day, Ben, it's like my English seatbelt. I never take it off because I know it protects me. Every week, Luca had online lessons with a teacher from Canada. His teacher, a friendly man named James, always started the class with, How are you today? And for months, Luca's answer was always exactly the same. I'm fine. Sometimes, if he felt extra adventurous, he would add, Thank you. That was it. Quick, safe, and finished. One day, during a lesson, James asked Luca how he felt about conversations in English. Luca admitted that he often felt nervous. He wanted to say more, but he didn't know how to keep the conversation alive. That's when James smiled and said something that stuck with him. If you always keep your answers small and closed, there's no space for the other person to join in. It's like having a door that's only open a few centimeters. They can look inside, but they can't walk in. That idea stayed in Luca's mind for the rest of the week. The next lesson came around, and James asked again, How are you today? Luca could feel, I'm fine, forming in his mouth, but then he remembered the door analogy. He stopped and tried something new. I'm doing well, thanks, he said. And then he added something small but real. It's sunny in Rome today. James's eyes lit up on the screen. Sunny in Rome? That sounds lovely. It's snowing here in Toronto. And just like that, they began a whole conversation about the weather, about warm days versus snowy days, about coffee in the sun versus hot chocolate indoors. That one extra detail took them somewhere new, somewhere more human. Luca told me later that this moment was when he realized something powerful. You don't need perfect sentences to have a richer conversation. You only need to give a little bit more of yourself. A simple detail, a small color from your day, can take you from answering a question to actually talking. Over the next few weeks, Luca played with different answers. If James asked, How are you? Sometimes Luca would say, Pretty good. I went for a walk this morning. Sometimes, Not bad. I just had the best espresso. Other days, I'm great. I finished an important project. The amazing thing? Every time, the conversation naturally expanded from there. Each response opened a new path. He also started to notice this in real life with friends and tourists in Rome. If someone asked, How are you? And he gave a little more than, I'm fine, they would stop for a moment, smile, and react to what he said. One rainy day, a tourist asked him the question, and Luca said, I'm good, but I wish the sun would come back. The tourist laughed and said, Me too. I came here for the sunshine. They ended up chatting under a shop awning for 5 minutes about weather, travel, and gelato. It was a small, charming moment, made possible by just a few extra words. What I love about Luca's story is how it shows that there is no magic or mystery in sounding more natural in English. The magic is in the openness. By giving a little more than your basic answer, you invite the other person into your moment. You don't need to be funny, you don't need to be clever, and you don't need to speak fast. You just need to pass the ball back in a way they can play with. Luca likes to think about conversations as games of catch. When someone says, How are you? They are throwing the ball to you. If you say, "I'm fine," and nothing else, you are catching the ball and putting it down. The game is over. If you say, "I'm good, just had a nice walk," you are catching the ball and throwing it back. And sometimes, the game keeps going for a while. That's why I always tell people to focus less on the perfect answer and more on the open answer. In English, small talk is often about offering little pieces of yourself to the other person, so they have something to respond to. When you do that, you are not just learning the language, you are living it, and that's when confidence starts to grow naturally. Walking through Rome now, Luca says he feels completely different about greetings in English. He doesn't freeze or feel trapped in, "I'm fine." He has his go-to responses that are short, friendly, and flexible. "I'm doing great today." "Not bad at all." "Pretty good, thanks." Sometimes with a detail, sometimes without. But always open, always ready for whatever comes back to him. And it's not just about language, it's about connection. In a city like Rome, full of stories, full of people moving in and out of your day, an open greeting is like a smile. It's small, but it changes the air around you. Let's take a moment together. You and I have already talked about why "I'm fine" is not wrong, but often it feels like a closed door. Now, I want to give you the keys to open it wider. These keys are small, simple expressions, short, easy to say, and easy to remember. You can use them the next time someone says, "How are you?" and you will sound more natural without having to think too hard. Here's the best part. None of these phrases are complicated. You can start using them today, even if you only know a little English. They don't make you sound like you're trying too hard, and they work in almost every situation. The real secret is this. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. A little smile in your voice can make the same phrase feel friendly and alive. The first one is maybe the easiest. "I'm good." It's very common, especially with friends or people you meet in casual settings. Someone in a cafe says, "How are you doing?" You smile and say, "I'm good, thanks." Hate you. It's warm, it's friendly, and it shows you're fine, but in a softer, more everyday tone. Remember my friend Marta from Barcelona? This was the first phrase she tried when she wanted to change her safe answer. The moment she said it, she noticed people reacting in a warmer way. Next, let's talk about "pretty good." This one adds just a little extra flavor. When the guy at the bookshop in Paris asks you, "How are you?" and you say, "Pretty good," it's almost like saying, "Things are going well today." It also opens space for more. Many people will naturally ask, "Oh yeah? What's been good today?" It's that little word, "pretty," like seasoning on your food, that changes the taste in a pleasant way. Another easy one is "not bad." This is a favorite in places like the UK, Ireland, Canada, and Australia. It's a relaxed way to say you're okay or good, without sounding too excited. Imagine you're in Berlin, standing in line at a food stall. The vendor smiles and says, "How are you?" You say, "Not bad, thanks." The tone here matters. Said with a light, friendly voice, it can sound very charming and natural. It can make the other person chuckle because it's so human. Now let's bring in "I'm doing well." This one is a little bit more formal, but still very natural. You might use it at work, in a job interview, or when you meet someone for the first time in a slightly professional setting. Let's say you're visiting an office in Lisbon for a meeting. Someone welcomes you with, "How are you?" and you say, "I'm doing well, thank you." It's polite, confident, and doesn't feel like a phrase from an old textbook. One more I want to give you is, "I'm all right." Simple, friendly, and often used in everyday moments. Picture yourself in Madrid, just stepping into a bakery. The woman behind the counter smiles and says, "How are you?" You give a small smile back and say, "I'm all right, thanks." It's light, easygoing, and works beautifully in casual situations. You might notice something important here. All these alternatives are short, 2 or 3 words, maybe 4 with "thank you." That's on purpose. I know a lot of learners worry about long answers because they fear making mistakes. But natural English doesn't have to be long to be good. The skill comes from choosing a small number of phrases that you feel comfortable with, and then using them with confidence again and again. Let's make this even more real. Imagine you are traveling through Europe. In Paris, at a street market, the seller asks, "How are you?" You say, "Pretty good, thanks." And you? You buy a baguette and have a short, friendly exchange. Later, in Amsterdam, you walk into a bike rental shop. The man behind the counter says, "Hi, how's it going?" You answer, "Not bad, thanks." He smiles, and suddenly you're talking about where you're from. Then, in Lisbon, you meet your tour guide. She asks, "How are you today?" And you say, "I'm doing well, thank you." Without even noticing, you've varied your answers in 3 different places, and each one has fit the moment perfectly. That's the beauty of this. You don't need a huge vocabulary. You just need to know a few everyday expressions and be relaxed enough to use them. Over time, you'll start to feel what works best when. Maybe "not bad" feels right when you're being casual, while "I'm doing well" feels better in a work setting. The more you try, the more natural it will become. Also, remember, you can always add a tiny detail if you want the other person to talk more. "I'm good, thanks. The weather's nice today." "Pretty good. I just had some great coffee." "Not bad, just a little tired." That one extra piece often creates a mini conversation. I remember meeting a young woman named Elise from Lyon while I was in Vienna. We were both waiting for a concert to start. I asked her in English, "How are you?" She smiled and said, "Pretty good. I found the concert hall without getting lost." I laughed, and we started talking about how easy it is to get confused in new cities. That one tiny detail gave us 3 or 4 minutes of talking, and by the end, we were both glad we'd met. That moment stayed with me because it showed, again, how a small alternative to "I'm fine" can make real connection possible. So here's my advice. Pick 2 of these phrases right now. Run them in your mind. Say them out loud. Feel how they fit in your mouth. "I'm good. Not bad." Or, "Pretty good. I'm all right." Keep them ready like coins in your pocket. When someone asks, "How are you?" you reach for one and use it without thinking too much. After a few days or weeks, it will stop feeling like a performance and start feeling like you. When you use these alternatives, you are telling the world something, even without knowing it. You're saying, "I'm here, I'm engaged, I'm ready to talk." That's the difference between a polite reply and a natural reply. And little by little, one conversation at a time, you'll feel that difference in the way people respond to you. I have something special for you today. And before you worry, no, it's not a big, scary exercise. This is small, easy, and something you can enjoy. I call it the "How Are You" challenge. You already know the idea. For most of your life learning English, you've been holding on to "I'm fine," and that has been okay. It has been safe. But now, after hearing Marta's story in Barcelona and Luca's story in Rome, and after we talked about these short, natural alternatives, you're ready to try something different. So here's the challenge. For the next 7 days, I want you to choose 2 new answers instead of "I'm fine." That's it. Just 2. Keep them in your pocket like 2 shiny coins, ready to use. They can be anything from the list we talked about. Maybe "I'm good" and "pretty good," or "not bad" and "I'm all right." Maybe even "I'm doing well" for when you want something a little more formal. Now here's the secret. You don't need to go looking for difficult situations to try them. You can do this anywhere. In the hallway at work, in the supermarket, with a new friend online, during your next class, or even at the cafe where you get your morning coffee. Whenever anyone asks, "How are you?" pause for a second, remember your 2 new answers, and give one. And if you want to take it to the next level, sometimes add a tiny piece of information, just like Luca did with "It's sunny in Rome today." That little detail makes people naturally want to respond. You don't need anything big. It can be something as simple as, had a nice coffee this morning, or the weather's great today. What this does is open the door for the other person to step in and start a real exchange. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, Ben, what if I forget? That's normal. Changing a habit takes time. Sometimes, I'm fine, will just jump out without you thinking, especially if someone surprises you. That's okay. Smile about it and try again next time. This challenge is not about being perfect. It's about noticing your own habits and slowly reshaping them. Every single time you do remember and use your new answers, you're building a new, stronger habit. I had a listener named Clara from Lisbon who tried this challenge last year. On the first day, she forgot 3 times. She told me she was frustrated. But then, about halfway through the week, she noticed something. She was starting to think about her answer before the question was finished. So when someone said, "How are you?" she already had "pretty good" waiting. By the end of the week, she was using her 2 new answers without even thinking. And the best part? Other people started reacting differently, smiling more, asking follow-up questions, or even sharing about their own day. That made her want to keep going. One of the things this challenge teaches you is that English is not just about words. It's about energy, rhythm, and being present in the conversation. When you give an answer with a little personality, even a very short one, you put energy into the exchange. And people feel that. Think about it. I could say, "I'm fine," and it would be polite but cold. Or I could say with a small smile, "Not bad, thanks." Or, "I'm good, just had some great coffee." Which version do you think will open a better conversation? It's clear, isn't it? The second one feels warmer, more human. Now, I'm also going to ask you to notice how people react to your new answers during the week. This is part of the fun. Maybe you say, "pretty good," at the supermarket, and the cashier smiles differently. Maybe you say, "I'm doing well at work," and the person nods and adds something about their own day. These small reactions are your proof that language learning is not just a solo activity. It's a shared experience. And here's another important thing. Say your new answer with confidence, even if you feel nervous on the inside. People respond not only to your words, but to your tone. If you mumble it quietly and look away, it will feel closed again. If you say it clearly, even softly but with presence, it will feel open. You don't have to fake big emotion. Just stand in your answer as if it belongs to you, because it does. I remember trying my own version of this challenge years ago, but in another language. At first, I felt awkward. It was as if these new responses didn't fit me yet. But after just a week, something strange happened. I stopped trying to use them. They became mine. I think you'll find that too. So let's map this out together, very simply. Step 1, choose your 2 new replies today. Don't overthink it. Go with the ones that feel the easiest to pronounce. Step 2, decide you will use only those answers for 1 week whenever someone says, "How are you?" or "How are you doing?" Step 3, if it feels right, add a short detail after your answer once in a while. It can be about the weather, your mood, or something small that happened in your day. Step 4, notice how people respond. This is your feedback, and feedback is what makes the learning real. If during this challenge you feel shy or stuck, remember Marta in the hotel lobby and Luca in front of his laptop. Both of them started safe and small. Both of them tried something new and saw how it brought more light into the conversation. And if they can do it, living their busy lives in Barcelona and Rome, you can do it wherever you are in the world. By the end of 7 days, you might be surprised. Your "I'm fine" reflex may already feel weaker, replaced by something fresher. Your conversations may already feel warmer. And that, in my experience, is how real fluency begins. Not with giant leaps, but with small, repeated steps that you control. I want to introduce you to Sophie. Sophie lives in Paris, that city where every street corner feels like it's part of a movie. She's in her 20s, with a wide, easy smile and a quick laugh. Her job is being a tour guide, and every week she meets people who come to see the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, the little cafes that have been in the same place for 50 years. Tourists from all over, New York, Dublin, Sydney, Madrid, Munich, walk around Paris with Sophie, trusting her to show them not just the sights, but the feeling of the city. When we first met, Sophie told me she had been using English almost every single day for 2 years. It's not her first language, but it's her work language. That means she spends a lot of time answering questions, giving directions, and chatting with people from every kind of background. And just like Marta in Barcelona and Luca in Rome, Sophie had her own relationship with the phrase, "I'm fine." When she first started guiding tours, Sophie was nervous. Every "How are you?" from a tourist felt like a small test. "I'm fine" was her safe pass. She would stand near the meeting point at the Notre Dame, greet people with, "Hello, how are you?" And when they asked her back, she delivered that answer every time. "I'm fine." Short, safe, done. But after a while, she began to notice the energy of the conversation. Many of her visitors used different replies. "Great, thanks." "Pretty good." "Not bad." Sometimes with little details like, "I just had the best croissant," or "A bit tired from walking, but happy to be here." Sophie realized something important. These answers made her feel like the person was actually sharing something with her, not just passing a test. And she wanted to give that feeling to others when she spoke English, too. She told me about a day early last spring. Paris was waking up from winter. The sun was soft, the air was still a little cold, but the cafes had their chairs outside again. Sophie had a new group from London to guide around the city. As usual, the first guest to arrive smiled and said, "Morning, how are you?" Sophie's mind began to go for, "I'm fine," out of habit, but she stopped herself. She thought, "Today I'll try something new." Instead, she smiled back and said, "I'm great today. The sun is finally back." The man laughed and nodded. "Yes, it's wonderful. We had rain all week in London." A small, warm connection was made right there. As more guests arrived, she kept going. "Pretty good. I had a nice walk this morning," to a woman from Canada. "I'm doing well, thanks," to a couple from Dublin. Every time she varied the answer, people responded with something more personal. And here's what happened next. The mood of the group started to feel different before the tour even began. People were smiling at each other, asking each other about breakfast, talking about the weather and their flights. Sophie noticed the change and thought, all I did was use a different greeting. That's it. But somehow, everyone feels more connected already. She carried that lesson forward. Every tour, every day, she made sure not to fall into the automatic, "I'm fine," unless she was truly tired and had no energy to talk. Most mornings, she used, "I'm good," or "pretty good," and sometimes she added something about the day's weather, Paris traffic, or a funny little detail from her morning walk. She didn't see this as language practice. She saw it as her way to start a conversation with lightness, to open the door to human connection right at the beginning. One time, Sophie had a group that included a father and his teenage son from Chicago, a couple from Madrid, and 2 friends from Dublin. Everyone arrived at the meeting point in front of the Eiffel Tower. The father from Chicago asked Sophie, "Hi, how are you today?" Without thinking too much, she said, "Really good. We've got the perfect weather for photos." His son grinned and said, "Sweet." And just like that, they were talking about angles for the perfect Eiffel Tower picture before the tour even started. Later that evening, Sophie thought about the day and realized something. When she used "I'm fine" in the past, nobody ever talked before the official start of the tour. People stood around, checking their phones, looking at the ground. But when she varied her answers and gave little details, people began to talk to each other before she even said, "Let's go." It made the tour more comfortable for everyone. Sophie's story is a reminder that these small changes not only help you sound more natural in English, they change the feeling of your conversations. This isn't only about learning, it's about creating moments. Whether you are in Paris or in any other place in the world, conversations start with these tiny exchanges. If you can make them warm and open, everything that follows becomes easier. Now Sophie smiles when she hears her guests trying the same thing. Sometimes she greets them with, "How are you?" And instead of, "I'm fine," she hears, "Pretty good, a little tired but excited to see Paris." Or, "I'm good, thanks, love your city already." She loves it because she sees the same magic happening for them that she experienced herself. So the next time someone asks you, "How are you?" I want you to remember Sophie standing there on a sunny Paris morning, seeing the difference just a few small words can make. You don't have to be on a tour or in a big city. You can be anywhere. But the moment you open your answer, you open the door. One of the things I love most about language is how it's more than just words. It's culture, it's tradition, it's an invisible handshake between people. And "how are you?" might be one of the clearest examples of this. It's such a small question, but it works differently depending on where you are and who you're talking to. Once you start noticing these differences, you'll see how giving a more natural and personal answer can help you open doors to connection anywhere in the world. Let me take you on a little journey in your imagination. First stop, London. People pass you on the street, or you walk into a shop, and the person at the counter says, "All right?" or "You okay?" They don't always expect you to share your full life story. A simple, "Yeah, good, thanks," or "Not bad," feels right here. Quick, light, friendly. You match the energy of the place. Now, let's teleport to New York City. Someone greets you with, "How you doing?" or "How's it going?" In that fast-moving city, answers can be a little bigger or full of energy, especially if you want to connect. "Pretty good, just enjoying the day," might get a fast, "Nice," back before they keep moving. But if you both feel like talking, that one little smile in your voice can become a conversation as you both wait for your coffee. Fly over to Dublin, and you might hear, "How's things?" or "How are you getting on?" People here often use replies like, "Grand," or "Not too bad at all." It's comfortable, it's local, and it's a piece of personality in a few words. If you reply with something similar and genuine, people notice you're joining the cultural rhythm, not just repeating something from a textbook. And now, come with me to Paris. In a small bookshop, a customer might ask, "How are you today?" If you reply with, "I'm fine," they'll accept it, but it might stop the moment right there. But if you say, "I'm good, I love this weather," it could lead to a small exchange about the sunshine, the books at the front table, or even where you're visiting from. Paris, like many European cities, carries its culture in those everyday moments. The more you give, even just a little, the more the world there opens up to you. Here's something important I've noticed from working with learners around the globe. Some cultures see "How are you?" as a real question about your feelings or your health. Others see it as just a way to say hello. In many English-speaking countries, it's often more of a greeting than a request for detailed news. That's why short, natural replies work so well. They are polite enough for the greeting, but open enough to let the conversation grow if both people want it to. Let me give you a real example from my own life. I was in Lisbon at a small street cafe, and I ordered a coffee. The waiter, probably in his early 20s, spoke to me in English because he heard my accent. He said, "How are you?" I could have just said, "I'm fine," paid for my coffee, and left. But instead, I said, "Pretty good, just enjoying this sunny morning." He laughed and said, "Yes, the city looks much better in the sun." We ended up chatting for 2 minutes about Lisbon's weather, his favorite part of the city, and why mornings are the best time to explore. All of that came from one warm answer to a short question. This is what I mean by cultural connection. Adjusting your answer not to hide in safety, but to place yourself in the conversation in a way that feels natural for the person and the place. You're not just answering in English. You're joining the culture of small talk itself. Sometimes, this connection isn't only about strangers. Imagine you're in Berlin, working in an international office. Every day, people from different countries pass your desk and say, "Hi, how are you?" If you say, "I'm fine" every day, it sounds the same, and people learn to expect nothing more. But if on Monday you say, "I'm good, had a big breakfast," on Tuesday, "Pretty good, looking forward to lunch," and on Wednesday, "Not bad, a little sleepy," you're telling small human stories. Over time, people respond because they're hearing someone who's in the moment, not just playing safe. Sometimes I think of language like cooking. You can make pasta with no seasoning, and it will keep you alive, but it won't excite anyone. Add just a little salt, maybe some herbs, and suddenly the same pasta makes people smile. "I'm fine" is the plain pasta. "I'm pretty good" is the same pasta with olive oil and a touch of basil. We're not talking about making it fancy. We're talking about giving it taste. Another part of cultural connection is confidence, not the loud, performative kind, but the quiet kind that says, "I'm here, I'm part of this conversation." People in all cultures pick up on that. They can feel when someone is willing to meet them halfway in a small talk moment. In fact, you don't even need to speak perfectly to have that bridge. I have seen people make big cultural connections with only 2 or 3 easy sentences, because they gave them with life instead of fear. And here's something you might not expect. The cultural connection you create through these open, varied replies to "How are you?" doesn't only depend on your English. It builds your confidence for bigger cultural moments. Those simple greetings prepare your brain for future interactions. One day, a person in Brussels might invite you to join their group for lunch, or someone in Toronto might ask for your opinion about something local, just because your warm tone and open first impression made them feel you were approachable. That's big, and it starts small. So as you think about your own journey, picture yourself as a traveler in conversation. Whether you're at home speaking to a tourist or abroad meeting a local, your answer to "How are you?" is like your handshake. In many cultures, the handshake is not just physical, it's in your words. Make yours confident, make it warm, and make it just a little open so the other person can step inside and talk with you. That's where the real magic happens. So, here we are, my friend. You and I, at the end of today's conversation. Think for a second about where we started. At the very beginning, we were standing with that old, safe phrase, "I'm fine," in our hands. You were holding on to it tightly because it felt familiar. It felt safe. And now, after spending these minutes together, you're holding something new. Not heavier, not more complicated, but more colorful, more alive. I want you to know something right now. Those small changes we've explored are not just about language. They are about the way you show up in the world. Every time you answer, "How are you?" with a little more warmth and openness, you're not only practicing English, you're making a statement to yourself. "I am learning. I am confident enough to share a little part of me, and I want to connect." That's powerful. You don't need to be fluent to do this. You don't need to have perfect pronunciation. You don't need to know advanced words. All you need is the courage to try, to let "I'm fine" rest for a while, and invite something fresh to take its place. "Pretty good." "Not bad." "I'm good, thanks." These phrases are tiny on paper, but in conversation, they can change how people see you and how you see yourself. I've watched students all over the world experience this shift. Marta in Barcelona, standing at her hotel desk. Luca in Rome, sitting in front of his laptop. Sophie in Paris, at the base of the Eiffel Tower. Each of them started where you are right now. Safe, small answers. And each of them discovered that by replacing just a few words, They could open up conversations that wouldn't have existed otherwise. Language has this incredible power to open or close moments. You've seen that in action through these stories. And here's the best part. Starting tomorrow, or even today, you can be the one opening moments for yourself. You can step into a shop, answer a friend online, meet a new colleague, and in that tiny space between their question and your reply, you can choose to be just a little more real, a little more alive in your answer. I'm not asking you to change completely overnight. You don't need to stop saying "I'm fine" forever. But now, you have more tools in your pocket. You can look at the day, choose your phrase, and send it out into the world with confidence. It's like stepping outside with a different hat or a new jacket. You're still you, but you're showing a different side. And here is something else I want you to carry with you. The reactions you get from people will be your real lesson. It's not about me telling you what to say. It's about you trying it, hearing someone respond differently, and realizing this works. Those little smiles, those quick conversations, those times someone tells you more about their day because you gave them an opening. Those are the real rewards. As you keep doing this, day after day, you'll notice it gets easier. One day, you might even find yourself using one of these replies without a second thought, the same way you've said "I'm fine" for years. That's when you'll know it has become yours. And once something is truly yours in a language, it never feels forced again. Now, before we wrap up, I want to thank you for spending this time with me, because listening, staying present, and making space in your day to be here, that's not a small thing. Every time you give your attention to English like this, you're making a choice about the kind of speaker and listener you want to become. If you found even one small thing today that can help you speak more naturally, then this conversation has been worth it. And if you want to make sure you keep getting these little tools, these stories, these moments of connection, then do something simple right now. Hit the like button and subscribe wherever you're listening. Not just because it helps this show, but because it's your way of keeping that flow of learning and connection coming to you week after week. Think of it this way. You've got a friend out here in the world, me, who's ready to walk beside you on this English journey. The more you show up for these episodes, the more steps we can take together. Because that's what the English Talk community is all about. Not learning alone, but learning in a space where you feel understood, supported, and inspired, even on the days when language feels like a mountain. So, as we close today, I want to leave you with this picture in your mind. You're somewhere out there, maybe in your city, maybe traveling, maybe online. Someone greets you in English. "Hey, how are you?" You pause for the smallest moment, smile to yourself, and give one of your new answers. The words leave your mouth and feel good. The other person responds, and just like that, you've turned a simple greeting into a real human connection. That's the power of small changes. That's the power you have starting right now.